Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Blake Green. I'm a cloud architect and AWS community builder. Today is going to be a little bit different than previous streams in which I kind of followed a workshop and more guided stream, where we kind of follow along through whatever the topic might be. Today, I kind of wanted to just showcase a couple of tools, specifically working with Projen. Either way, I don't know how to pronounce it just yet, but using Projen to create a AWS CDK application, and then specifically using a new construct that I recently found called Super EKS. And this has been probably the one of the coolest constructs that I've seen out in the wild or in the community since I've been following the CDK. So I've already built it, so I think I'm gonna end up probably pulling the baking show setup here, because it does take quite a long time for the CDK application to deploy. So I think what I'll do is I'll end up deploying the app, and then we'll kind of go through the ins and outs of what this project is, and how you can use it and how it could benefit you when you start to create your CDK applications. So with that being said, we'll just jump in and get started. And yeah, so here I have the application. So let me just make sure that I forgot to authenticate myself. So let me make sure that my CLI is configured really quick. I knew there was something I was missing. Okay. So let's see here. So if I run npx Projen, okay, so that should, I think it might ask me for the IAM permissions, but let's see. Well, that's not good. Let's see here. Oh, it's because it didn't delete properly on the. Okay, sorry, 1 sec. See, this is what happens when you go off script and you're doing it live, and you think it's gonna happen one way, but it doesn't. And then now, so what the error is saying, I think apparently it didn't. The CloudFormation stack didn't delete properly. So actually, you know what? Let's see if we can. What if we just call it something else, There it goes. All right. That's much easier. So yeah, I mean, you can already kind of see it's gonna deploy a lot of stuff, but we'll go through that. I just wanted to get this deploying so that when we circle back around, that we're not waiting a really long time for us to go through, or to allow it to deploy. So okay, I think that's going now. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So Projen, right? It is a project. It synthesizes. Let's see if there's like um, a description that we could use here. Projen synthesizes project configuration files such as package.json, tsconfig.json, and gitignore, GitHub workflows, ESLint, jest, etc. from a well-typed, defined definition written in JavaScript. Okay, here you go. So I think this is its selling point here, right? Is that as opposed to existing templating scaffolding tools, Projen is not a one-off generator. So typically, like even with the the CDK init command, right? It builds or it scaffolds out your project for you, but it's still up to you to maintain like the updating the versions and stuff like that. So I think the goal with Projen is that rather than just running it to scaffold or build out the structure of your project, it's going to continue to evolve with your project over time, right? So you will see that once we dive into some of the options that are available when you build out your when we build out the project. But essentially, it's almost kind of annoying sometimes, but it's there to like help you make sure that you're patching or you're maintaining the project consistently, and it also automates a lot of that for you, which is really nice. Yeah, so let me just go ahead and I'll open up another editor while let's check on this guy, see if make sure it's still running. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So let me open up a new editor here, and we'll call it. Okay, so I'm going to minimize this guy, and we'll go side by side here, and we'll just go through this. So basically, I have like this empty project, right? Starting from scratch. And basically, there's this, within the GitHub projects on Projen on GitHub, right? There's this getting started page. Let me see if I can bump up the font there. And basically it tells you, like how to start a new project. So let's go ahead and do that. What's interesting is it doesn't even say, oh wait, so you use npx. So that should be a prerequisite, is that you should have Node installed on your machine, which they don't mention here, but they probably should. And so let me open up a terminal, right? And we'll say npx Projen. And I think I could hit start here, and it should like give me the, oops. Right. So if you type in npx Projen new, it'll give you all the available options, similar to what's here in the GitHub repo. But basically what it does is it gives you all these options to create different types of projects, right? So, typically I use I write CDK applications in TypeScript a lot. So I would create an npx projen new, CDK-app-ts. Or if I wanted to create a brand new construct similar to the one that we'll use called Super EKS. But they also have other options down here too, right? So I've also used just to create a Next.js application, which is really awesome because it comes with a lot of boilerplate or best practices out of the box, including like using Tailwind CSS with your Next.js application. If you haven't done that before, installing Tailwind in your Next application can be kind of annoying. It's a little bit of a process. So for it to just kind of streamline that for you and then maintain like the updates and stuff, it's really nice. But so for us today, we are just creating an AWS CDK app in TypeScript. So we'll just type in here. So it's just npx projen new AWS CDK app -ts. And what this is doing now is just going and it's going to basically scaffold our project for us, right? But it's using this type of project to make sure that it has everything that we want, right? So for a CDK TypeScript application. So let's see. We noticed that you're not installed. Yeah, so it's going to initiate a local Git repository for us. So I'll just hit yes. It'll even create you a repository on GitHub if you wanted, but we'll just say we already have one. What is the name of what is the repo? We'll just hit enter, and it's fine. Right off the bat, right? It's trying to it's kind of trying to force you to use Git, right? To push your code and manage your code in Git. And, I think that's already a good first step, right? Because you're not, you shouldn't have anything locally. So anyways, okay. So now I think we can kind of play around and see. Let's see what else they have in here. So yeah, the repo also goes through some of the features that are built into the project types, and we'll kind of see that once we start digging through the file directory. Just trying to see if there's anything else that I missed. It says Projen takes a batteries included approach and aims to offer dozens of different types of projects out of the box. That is true. It's still early days for the project, so keep that in mind. Like, I think they're still working pretty hard at it, but there might be some edge cases of. Then they have a roadmap as well, and then contributing. So yeah, let's kind of like dive into the what comes with the initializing a Projen app, and we'll go from there. We'll see some of these. We'll see some of these things up and close. All right, so first of all, you can see it comes with this .github directory, and then it comes with some of these workflows like out of the box, right? So when working with GitHub Actions, Projen will it automatically out of the box comes with these GitHub Action workflows for you. So whenever you need to build or it also comes with Dependabot, right? So if there's like critical patches that need to happen or anything like that, like it's already built for you here. And one of the coolest things that you could see up here on the in this comment, hopefully you can see that. But in the comment here, it says it's generated by Projen to modify or edit the Projen rc.js and then run npx Projen. So the idea is that you'll see this in other parts of the folder structure as well. But the idea is that you go to this single file here, this Projen rc.js file, and this is where this becomes like a single pane of glass for you to update various parts of your project, including GitHub workflows, like your git ignore type stuff, and like dependencies of like versioning your dependencies and stuff like that. And we'll kind of dive into that as well. But I just wanted to point that out really quickly, because even if I come in here and try to like type something and then save it, VS Code will pop up and say failed to save, because it's a read-only file, right? I can't actually modify this file because Projen makes me go into Projen RC to actually update any of my GitHub workflows. And I think that's really powerful, because you're kind of forcing yourself to go through best practices in this single pane of glass, rather than having a bunch of changes to various parts of the project. You're kind of just, you go to one location and write your update there. So I can't even save it anyways. Yeah, so anyways, let's go. There's also like a pull request template that you can write as well. Let's see, tasks. There's the source directory, which is our main entry point for our CDK application. And again, it comes with some of this, it comes with a little bit of extra boilerplate than what like a CDK init does, right? And including like these environment variables that we have to set in order to deploy our application, because we might have multiple accounts or multiple regions, and we can specify which environment that we need to deploy our CDK application into, right? And then we can also write tests on our CDK application as well. Like I mentioned, git ignore is also generated by Projen. Mergify, so we can do automatic merge on approval, which is really nice, right? So like if there's a new version of a CDK and you want to just kind of automatically update it or keep it at a certain version, it's just but basically what this will do is it opens up these pull requests for you, and it allows you to kind of continuously maintain the project instead of kind of letting it die, right? Or like be super out of date. It's here to help you. Okay, and then the Projen RC file, let me see if I can get rid of this down here, and then we'll move this over. Like I said, this is like the single pane of glass. So if you're like, other than creating or writing your CDK application, this is probably the place where you'd come to update dependencies or anything like that. And there's a bunch of commented code here, but it's in sections of pertaining to this specific type of project. So it's a CDK TypeScript application. If it were Next.js or a construct project, it would these options would be different, right? Because this is for the CDK TypeScript app. But then it knows that there are other node specific options that are available because it's a CDK TypeScript application. And those are all listed here, right? So if you have dependencies that are like outside of what you're doing, and we'll see this actually in our application too, because we need to bring in npm packages, not necessarily specific to CDK dependencies, but we need to bring in the Super EKS dependency. And then there's also node project options. And like I said, here's the dependabot, it's default to true, but all you would do if you wanted to turn that off is uncomment and then change this to false, and you're done. Instead of trying to kill all that boilerplate code, you could just set that to false and it'll get rid of it all once you run the npx projen command. Same thing with pull request templates. You can even set the request template pull request template contents here. Let's see what else. There's project options as well. So you can see, there's just a ton of different stuff here that we could set and continue to set, and kind of keep evolving over the lifetime of this project. But the idea is that it's here within the application, and it's all good. Okay, so that's the Projen RC, right? And then we have some other files here. Package.json is the same as I believe, right? So we can't change this to 8.1 or something, right? I guess we can. I thought the package.json was also a read-only file, but apparently not. Anyways, moving on. We got the README. We got the TS config. We can set the version here using Semver. Yeah, so that's basically the out of the box Projen setup. Everything that you would need to do here. But so now we want to go ahead and write our CDK application, right? And let me just so we'll go into the source and then main.ts file so that we can start writing or installing our dependencies here. So let me just pull up the let's bring this guy over. Alrighty, so let's see here. Okay, So first things first, actually, we need to install our dependencies, right? So, like I mentioned, we have to use the Projen RC file to install those dependencies. And first of all, we're going to use a custom domain from Route 53. So we need to bring in the Route 53 module, right? So we're just going to include this CDK dependency, and then that is an array of at AWS-CDK AWS-Route 53. Okay. Additionally, we need, like I mentioned, we need to bring in our NPM. And again, another cool thing to point out here too is we're getting code completion even inside of our Projen RC file, right? So if I scroll down here to deps, it's saying like these are runtime dependencies for this module. It's, you know, this will have this this will behave similar to yarn add or npm install, and add this module as a dependency in our package.json, right? So we can add that, and then this is also going to be an array, and we're going to use the super luminar -io super EKS. Okay. And then finally, one thing I noticed, because we need to set our environment variables, is that, and it was kind of strange. I thought that this would be something that they would provide out of the box, but the .env isn't included in the gitignore file. So you can see here that even if you create a .env file to store your, so that might be like a pull request that you create to add this to the project, because we need to create this. Oh no. .env, right? And you can see that it's going to be committed to our Git repository, but we don't want that. So in order for me to add that to this git ignore, I need to go in here and say git ignore, and then this is also an array of, and then .env. Right. So now that I'm good with my Projen RC file, you open up your terminal, and then from within here you just write npx Projen. And what this does is it sees our changes to the Projen RC file, and it will go through and install our CDK dependencies, our other dependencies, and then also add the .env file to the gitignore. So you can see it now that it's not, our .env file is not going to be committed. And if you look in our gitignore, it's now been added. Yeah, and then if we look at our package.json, you can see here, right? We've added these dependencies to our project. So pretty cool. Okay, so now we are ready to work on our CDK application. So first things first, so now we've installed our dependencies, right? Okay, so we'll get rid of this here. And the first thing we're going to do is we want to use a our hosted zone from Route 53. And so I'm just going to say const hosted zone. Get rid of all this stuff here. Hopefully that font is big enough. Maybe bump it up one. Okay. So yeah, so we're going to create a hosted zone, and then we're just going to say hosted zone. And watch this. Like, usually we have to bring in our imports, right? But we know we want to create a hosted zone. So it'll actually bring in, since we added that, added this dependency to our Projen. I thought this was kind of cool. I don't know if this is like normal behavior, but as soon as I type hosted zone from the Route 53 module, it automatically imports it for me, which is, I think that's pretty nice. But anyways, so and then we want to say from lookup, because I have an existing domain name, right? And then let's see here. Oh yeah, okay. So then we have to give it, oops. This, and then we'll call it my zone. And then now, again, like we still get the code completion, right? So we know that the domain name is a required property or parameter of this of the hosted zone provider, right? So we'll say domain name, and then we'll say playgreen.dev. Okay. And then now we can use the Super EKS. So let me just create this here, and then we'll go check it out on the repo. So Super EKS equals new. We're going to create a new object called Super EKS. Again, it automatically imports that up here for me, which is really nice. And then all we need to do is pass it the scope and then the ID. So like hello world. And then for this, all we need to do is pass in the hosted zone from above. And that's it. So yeah, I mean, let's go check out the repo for Super EKS. Yeah, so let's see. Let me bump up the font on this guy too. So this is a construct, like I mentioned. It provides a pre-configured EKS installation with batteries included, again, right? So maybe you're noticing a theme here, but I like things with batteries included, apparently. But yeah, I mean, it comes with all these best practices for an EKS cluster. And some of those features include like creating the external DNS, right? So we created that hosted zone, and now we can use that domain name inside of our EKS cluster. We get logging to CloudWatch with the Fluent bit, right? We get ingress management with the AWS load balancer controller. We get isolated node groups. We get hardened node setups. So, yeah, I mean, all of this like is out of the box, which is crazy, and they're still working on a lot of cool stuff. So, so yeah, I mean, let's go back into the project. I just wanted to give them a shout out. This is a really cool construct, and I think you'll see exactly what I mean here in a minute. So, as a matter of fact, actually, no, you know what? We'll keep going here. So, that creates like this best practices cluster out of the box, but we want to actually deploy an application to our cluster, right? So it's as easy as just calling our Super EKS and then cluster, and then we want to add a Helm chart. Okay, and we want to call this, we'll call it Nginx, because every how-to or tutorial that I've ever seen always deploys an Nginx pod into their EKS cluster. So let's keep it consistent, I guess. But anyways, so first of all, we need to create a namespace. Create a namespace. And we'll set that to true. And again, like, I think we can get the autocomplete here, so we know that we also need to give it a namespace. So we'll call this Nginx, right? And then repository will be https charts.bitnami.com/ forget what it's called actually. Oh, just Bitnami. Okay. Okay. And then the chart itself is called Nginx. And you can see like all the red squiggly lines have gone away now, right? And so we would, technically we'd be good to go, right? But we also want to specify the release. We also want to specify the version. And all this information can come directly, from this repository website. Oops, just noticed I had a .5.2, right? And then within the Helm chart, we can specify our values, right? So our specific values to this chart. So this is just an object, and then we give it an ingress, which is an object, and then enabled is true. And then the host name that we want to give our Nginx server so that we can access it externally is Nginx. And the cool thing here is that it's going to create this DNS entry inside of our hosted zone, right? So we'll call it Nginx dot, and then we need to pass in our hosted zone dot zone name, right? That's our FQDN of this hosted zone, right? And that should be enough. There. So basically, by the end of this, we'll be able to go to nginx.blakegreen.dev, and we'll be able to see, or we'll be able to access that Nginx website, right? So lastly, we just need to provide the annotations. And then this is just an object for the Kubernetes .io ingress class. And we want to specify the ALB, the application load balancer, right? And then the ALB dot ingress dot Kubernetes. I cannot type today. Dot .io / scheme. I think this is just ingress. And then ALB dot ingress dot Kubernetes dot .io / target type is let me see here. Forget. Oh wait, I had that wrong too. So this is just IP, and actually this is not ingress, it's internet facing. I was a little off there. Okay, so that's it. So we have our application here, right? So we have our hosted zone, we have our Super EKS cluster, and then we have this Helm chart where we're going to try to deploy the application, right? And so, I mean, it wouldn't be a CDK demo if I didn't like output the synth so that we can judge how much YAML is generated from this amount of code, right? So let's run that. And the way that we do that with Projen, everything starts with npx Projen. And what we could do is npx Projen synth, but then we can output it, right? We can output it to a local YAML file, basically. So let's run that. And then inside of our directory here, we should be able to see, yeah, so we should be able to see this cfn.yaml file, right? And sorry, really quickly, let's look at, so altogether, right? Altogether in this application, including like our imports and a bit of white space, 37 lines of code to create, or to look up our hosted zone, create an EKS cluster, and deploy a Helm chart to our cluster. That's 37 lines of TypeScript. And if we look at the YAML file that we synthesize or we compile down to with a CDK, you can see we're far past that 37 lines so far, and it actually ends up deploying over. Oh man, we're over 1,000 now. Wow. Oh, we made it to 2016. That was a good year, So 2016 lines of raw CloudFormation, including some metadata. I can't say that it's all, everything that we created, but with 37 lines of TypeScript, we were able to create over 2,000 lines of raw CloudFormation, and this is what gets deployed into our account. So that's crazy, right? That is such a time saver, and the fact that we didn't have to go through and build these, best practices for developing this CloudFormation or this stack. It's already kind of built in for us, and it includes a lot of those batteries, right? Those batteries that I like to talk about of the DNS management and logging and the ingress management and making sure that everything is hardened and isolated. That's super compelling. So right on schedule. And I'm so glad I did the old baking show switcheroo of deploying this before we went through it and created it. So the stack that I started at the beginning of the stream has now finished, right? And so now I can actually run, this output command inside of my terminal. And what it does is it configures my kubectl config, and then we can interact with the EKS cluster that is deployed. So if I'll just paste this in here. And now it's added that to my kubeconfig file, right? So now I can kind of interact. The next thing, wait, there's more, right? I forgot to cue this one up, but there's this Kubernetes IDE. It's called Lens. And if you've never heard of Lens, it is really, really cool when you're working with Kubernetes. Let me just bump up the font here, but yeah. So what Lens does is it kind of gives you more of a visual representation of your EK or your Kubernetes cluster. And so rather than trying to use kubectl on the command line to figure out, how many nodes or how many pods are inside of your cluster, Lens actually connects to your kubectl config file, and it will sort of query all of the stuff within inside of your cluster. So let me bring that up here. So I have it installed on my machine, and I'll show you exactly how to set it up. Set it up to where it looks for your kubectl. Okay, so I have my old one in here too, but basically when you start up the, hopefully that's probably not big enough, and I can't zoom in. So I'm sorry if this is difficult to see, but basically you'll see this add cluster here, this plus sign, and it'll say it's going to look into your local config file for the context for your your cluster, right? And you can actually just hit this drop down here, and it will show you all of your clusters that are inside of your kubeconfig file. And so I can't remember which one it was. So let me, so it ended in 8D4. So this one here. So this is our new kubectl file here. And if you hit add cluster, basically what it's going to do is go and connect this Lens IDE to your EKS cluster, right? So then we'll be able to see all of the nodes and the pods, and like I said, and our services, our namespaces, basically everything that was deployed inside of our EKS cluster. Lens will give us that visibility, which is just really, really cool. So here, you can already see right off the bat. I wish I could zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, it does not let me zoom in. So that might be really difficult to see. but basically, I mean, I guess I'll just try to explain it as best as I can. But here you could see these are our EC2 nodes that are inside of our cluster. And it gives you some, information about it. Like it's using Amazon Linux 2 for the operating system. It's telling you what version of kubelet is running on that system. A lot of good information as far as like your nodes, and then it'll tell you like what pods are specifically running on this this node. Again, it's this single pane of glass, and maybe another theme of this stream. I like batteries included, and I like single pane of glass. I've learned a lot about myself on this one, I guess. So basically, yeah, I mean, provides you some information on the nodes that are within your cluster. You could keep kind of scrolling down here, and inside of that is workloads, and it gives you some insights into pods, right? So we have 15 pods that are running inside of our cluster, and it gives us all of this information, right? And so, here's like the Fluent bit for our logging, and it's in the logging namespace. Here's our AWS AOB controller, the nodes for the kube system, DNS, and then at the bottom here, you can see here's our Nginx application that we use the Helm chart to deploy into our cluster, and it's in the Nginx namespace. Now, here's probably the coolest thing about Lens. I can actually click on this, I think. Yeah. So I can click on the pod that's running in my cluster, and there's a little button up here. It looks like a terminal icon, and I know I'm guarantee you can't see this on the stream, probably, but you can press this terminal button, and this actually drops you in to a terminal session inside of that pod running in EKS, right? So I'm in the Nginx pod right now, and I can actually run like curl localhost, I think, right? On what is it, 8080 or something like that? Yeah. So if I curl localhost on port 8080, I can see the web page, welcome to Nginx on this, like inside of this terminal session running inside the pod, right? And that was so easy to just drop into a pod and make sure that my Nginx service is running, or curl itself to make sure that it's presenting the web page. Pretty crazy. Once I saw that, I was like, that's next level. But anyways, so you could also go into within the workload section here. There's an area for deployments, so you can see, we deployed our Helm chart for the Nginx namespace. Some other useful information here, I think, there's config maps, secrets, that they store the secrets in here. There's nothing there that would be sensitive information, but then there's like a network section for you to see like the different services, including like our load balancer, the endpoints, the ingresses, right? So here it even says like there's a rule that's redirecting our domain name, so nginx.blakegreen.dev to our Nginx pod, right? And we'll see that in a minute. But it also includes like storage for persistent volumes. You can see all the namespaces lenses are really cool. Like if you're working with Kubernetes and on a day-to-day basis, I can't see why you wouldn't use something like this. And just to get that visibility inside of your cluster that's pretty cool. So finally, I think what we could do is go to, let's see if we can resolve our, so HTTP nginx dot blakegreen dot dev. And see if that's working here. I can check to see. Let's see if it's inside of our. So our nginx pod is running. So let's see if it's just taking a minute or. Doing it live. You know, we've been doing so good up until now, right? Everything's been going to plan, and then of course at the very end when we try to get to it. Do we have to specify 8080 maybe? Or? I know it's not HTTPS. Let's try this. Well, anyways, okay. Well, we weren't able to open it up in the browser, but you get the gist of it. You know, that's what I get for doing it live. You know, but anyways, so that's basically it. Let me go back to. Let me go back to the. I'll go back to our project here. So okay. So yeah, I mean, to kind of wrap this up is that we were able to create a Projen, you know, CDK application project. We were able to create this Super EKS application and deploy an nginx container to it. You know, within 37 lines of code, we were able to generate over 2,000 lines of YAML, of CloudFormation YAML, and then deploy that. And then we used Lens to access the EKS cluster and get more visibility into the cluster itself and see the different pods and stuff that are created as part of this Super EKS construct. So super powerful. If I ever, you know, when I have to deploy an EKS cluster or applications inside of it, I mean, I think this is like the go-to in my opinion. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, you know, give me a like and subscribe, or you know, follow me on Twitter for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.